back for our second half of our Midnight Kiss edition of Collider Witching Hour. That first half was all spoiler-free, but now that the episode is available on Hulu, it's time to get into it with Erlingur and Carter. Let's roll the spoiler conversation about Midnight Kiss. All right, so I want to get asked two very specific questions first. The Ma line. Did that come up on the fly? Did someone at Blumhouse encourage you guys to do that? Because it plays
I still don't know
so
if anyone
well.
at Blumhouse recognizes that it's in there, to be honest. It was like in the script, she says something like, oh, you know, come quick because I don't want to be drinking alone. And then she walks off. And then I was like, she needs to do the Ma line. So we actually went in an ADR and recorded her doing the Ma line.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's
well,
so
good.
good.
I'm glad. I mean, I felt like last night was the first time that anybody noticed that it was there.
I was delighted when she said that.
Good.
Or can I get
Go?
another?
No, you've been losing it.
The other one was towards the end. You know what I'm talking about. The Stu line that sounds very Scream, where his delivery sounds like it's almost matching lines in that. Was that deliberate, or is that just how it came out?
We all go a little crazy. Like in Scream, it's we all go a little crazy sometimes. And he says his line is, you know, we've all gone a little crazy tonight or something.
But it was even his delivery towards the end when he gets like super manic, and that to me, not even that was more Stu.
Right. I mean, I can't talk to like his performance or like what if you talked about it, but Scream was definitely like a big inspiration in the writing. So like that, but
it wasn't. It didn't come up in the shooting or in the delivery or in the editing of the line, really. Other than stuff that's just kind of ingrained. Maybe it's deep inside of you. And you don't realize it's there.
Yeah.
And it bubbles to the surface.
Right.
Well, I do, since we like hinted at it a few times, let's talk about actually shooting those last 10 minutes and what that was like on the day, because you guys do have to jam in so much on what seems to be not a lot of means and certainly not a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, and the time was made even more difficult by the fact that the scene takes place at night. And so every day that we were shooting it, we were faced with the sun coming up. And so there was always, a shot that we didn't sort of get because the sun was peeking up and like it, so that was, shooting in a glass house is tough when you're trying to shoot at night. But it was, we had great stunt people and we sort of, the good thing about shooting like that also in one location is like, you're not doing big moves. Like it's pretty easy to turn around, and the way that we lit the house and the rooms, we sort of lit the whole space so that there wasn't like, okay, we're gonna shoot this way, now let's tweak this light and do this. It was like, we could turn around in minutes, which made things go a lot faster. But yeah, not easy with all those stunts and gags and
and also like very intense performances.
Yeah,
like
and that's really tough. I mean, but they were great. I mean,
they were so good.
Yeah,
I because like if we are doing there's a moment where like Lucas has his kind of like the Bond villain speech where he's kind of like explaining a little bit, and you always like as a writer you kind of know like, oh, this is either gonna be a really good or really bad.
It's
tricky to pull off. And I remember like watching him do that performance for the first time, and it was like, oh my God, this is like so much better than I was imagining.
When I think, and that was, I think, one of the first things that we shot of that entire sequence, because I knew it was going to be really tough. And I think that we kind of almost the entire thing was from his very first take. We were lucky enough to have 2 cameras on everything. So we had the coverage of that first delivery where it was like, kind of wowed everybody in the room, like, oh my God.
It was like silent.
Yeah,
it was super intense. I think like whenever someone's like emoting like that and they're practically dribbling too, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you get into that zone.
Yeah. And the dribble can be annoying sometimes, I find, but not in this case.
No.
He didn't really dribble.
It works really well. It just made me even more terrified
There's a little
of him.
wetness with the kissing, but not as much of a dribble.
But it fits, the midnight kiss thing, like it was all a part of.
Can you guys talk a little bit about the whodunit aspect of it, and when you're crafting the story, figuring out like where is this going to go? Because you even said it at the beginning. You read a horror script and it's like playing really well, but then all of a sudden when the big reveal happens, you got to make sure it's powerful. So how do you settle on that kind of conclusion?
I mean, so like one of the things, it was kind of tricky because like the third act kind of did change, considerably, in a short amount of time.
Like from the time that I read it on that Friday night to our first day of shooting, which was like a week later, like the killer had changed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or like a big, kind of.
More like where the killer's coming from had changed.
Yeah.
So there used to be a kind of a different ending. So I was, because we were changing it so fast, I was always a little worried, like, is this gonna track? Like, are we missing something? Because we're so deep in it that we know all the things that are happening. We also know all the things that we've kind of taken out, but we don't know if other people will.
Other people are tracking it as well as, and then there's like, and then you run into like a random like offhand comment from an exec, like, well, what if Hannah's the killer? or it was like, okay, what if she's the killer? Like, so there's some crazy sort of left turn possibilities, but we kind of, we stayed focused and like, tried to make sure that everything tracked as well as we wanted it to.
Right. And I think like the Lucas being, one of the killers, that was always, that never really changed. And his motives never changed.
Yeah, he stayed.
It kind of like how we learned about his motives did change. Like it didn't used to come from him.
And the Joel of it all changed.
Yeah. So.
The Joel of it all.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I mean, could we really just talk about all this, you think? Like, if we're in spoiler zone? Like,
if we're in spoiler zone, yeah.
Well, like originally they were in it together.
Yeah.
Like they were like in cahoots, and it was like Joel was like masterminding. He was using Logan, to make this all happen.
And then I came on board and I was like, I don't know if Joel's going to kill his friends. Like, I understand Joel killing how he does in the movie, but I wasn't, I could see him being upset at Cameron, but I couldn't see him wanting to kill Hannah.
Right.
And I couldn't see him wanting to kill other people. And so some shifts happen, to try to line up what his motivations might be. But this is all like within 5 days of our first shoot day.
Right.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what we ended up doing with, kind of
super happy
Joel's
with it.
like crime of passion, I think it's unexpected, and I think we don't really see that type of a twist.
Yeah.
Like I think we, came up with like a really good solution that everybody was happy with.
Yeah.
So I'm really, proud of how it ended up.
I heard a couple of audible gasps last night when that happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're not.
Well, you're not expecting that from your, one of your sort of heroes.
And you're not sure if like, wait, is he the killer of
The
everyone,
killer?
or is this a one-time thing? So it kind of like the mystery keeps going for further. So I think we get like that double twist. We just kind of like, did it a little bit differently. And I think also a good thing that came out of that is, I think because they are kind of separated in their motives more, you can look, they both, Joel is coming at it from a more kind of personal, emotional, jealousy, bitterness thing, whereas Logan's motive is more kind of, like an intellectual, cultural, it's like we kind of.
When he's also
cake
just
and
like
eat it too.
wackadoodle crazy.
Yes, yes.
Like bonker,
It is interesting how having the two operate separately, but also committing, murders.
Yeah.
It almost enhances the other's
other one,
motive
yeah,
by
exactly.
seeing them play out in parallel.
Yeah.
It's New Year's Eve. It's, the transition of like new and old,
Yeah.
and like they're,
all the baggage of yesterday.
I
is
feel like
gone.
if they were a team, I really would have been going down the Billy Stew like screamer right now.
Well, that's I think that probably in retrospect, like
because
I
Logan
think
totally would have been the stew.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
And I think like that version of the script was probably a little bit too much indebted to Scream. So I'm actually like very glad that we found this.
Part of me
Yeah.
thinks there's never anything wrong. It's my second favorite horror movie of all.
Okay.
My second favorite movie period of all time. My
Okay.
favorite horror movie of all time. So I'm a little obsessed. If you couldn't tell.
Yep, I can tell.
The other scene that I really wanted to ask about, just like the step-by-step shooting process of, is the bottle kill, which I
Oh,
think
yeah.
is I don't know why I didn't expect you guys to go that far, but as that was playing out, I'm like, whoa, they're really showing us like everything right now.
Well, there's such an interesting turn in that scene because like, you start out thinking that it's just going to be like a, like a nice, simple choking / strangulation, and then things take that turn and you're like, oh no, this is going somewhere completely different.
And it's intense.
Yeah.
It's very
But
graphic.
but that's not originally how he died. Like there was a whole other, like the whole thing when he fell from the, there was like that was also something that we that was, you know, simplified and, you know, just sort of focused.
Well, the bottle thing was always there, but like the way that they find him, that was like a whole like he gets dropped off the balcony, like hung with like sparklers in his eyes and stuff.
Oh, snap.
That was one of those things that when you look at the script and say, can we shoot this in the time allotted?
Right. And I think
maybe not.
It probably would have also, I mean, it would have been awesome, but I don't know if it really fit the film that we ended up making.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and plus like the bottle in the throat, it's just
enough.
like,
Yeah,
it's so gruesome. And,
There's something about like watching something like that automatically makes you think like you have a sore throat or something.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think it's like
so
even
jaw.
it's even more effective because I think Zachary, like Chester, the way he plays him, he's so much fun. Like you don't want to see him die, especially not in such a horrible way.
Yeah.
Just
And so
quickly,
soon.
can we name drop your cast just so like people get to know them a little more?
Yeah.
Because like really every single person in this, I feel like
So
is
good,
just
right?
on the cusp of like, I don't know, like blowing up or something.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah. Well, Augie, Augustus Prue plays Cameron, who's amazing, and Scott Evans is Joel. Aiden Mary is Hannah. Chester Lockhart is Zachary.
Adam Faison.
Yeah, Adam is Dante.
And Will is Ryan.
Yep.
In the beginning. Will
And
Westwater.
Lucas Gage.
Oh, Lucas. Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
Of course.
They're
As
all
Logan.
they're
Yeah.
all so good. I feel like I would totally watch another installment just with Hannah and Cam. And like I don't
You're
even
not
care.
the only one. Yeah.
I don't even care if
Absolutely.
there's
Doesn't even
like
have to
a
be horror.
scary
Yeah.
setting. No,
Yeah,
I
no,
just
you just
want
wanna
like
follow
me
them.
every day with
Yeah.
the two of them.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine with that.
Cam and Hannah.
We should totally do a sequel. I'm sure they will run into more problems. And you know.
I would bet
day
on
after or
that.
something.
Yeah.
I also want to do a prequel with Zachary's character.
Yeah, all
where he's
Zachary
just being
all the
fabulous
time.
I would be okay with that also.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something sort of that touches into what you guys were talking about is the relationships are different than what you get to see in your average slasher film. And that really shines through because
Yeah.
you do want to see these characters before these horrible things happen and you don't want these horrible things to happen and you want to see what happens after too because you haven't seen those dynamics before in this type of film.
Yeah. Well, I think that specifically like that relationship between Cameron and Hannah is such a, I mean, anyone in our community, like we all have relationships like that. And that's like one of those things you just don't see, that super close kind of intense friendship that's intimate and that's, you know, that is just not on screen.
I love the beat that it ends on too, with him committing to like go
Going
out
on
to
a
a bar
date.
with
Yes,
her
a
too.
straight bar.
Really just like that was such like a heartwarming like little button to put on the end.
Nice, yes.
And it tracks very well too.
Yeah.
I was surprised how quickly that second kill came up in the movie. Was it always planned to happen that early? Because again, through performance, I think what did we know them for? Like 5 seconds?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get a kill scene there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of like the page count, it actually isn't that early. I think
No, it's like page like 30, 40 something.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
I think the film just
it
moves
flies
really
by in that
quick.
beginning part because you're with them and everything's happening fast and you're sort of not, you know, you're not getting caught up in exposition and story. You're just like in Palm Springs for like a fun weekend.
Yeah.
And, you know, you forget that so much time has passed.
But it's like, you know, I think it, you know, speaks to like how much fun he is as a character that like you don't want to see him die. You want to see, but I think also like just to up the stakes, you have to kill like a character you like because then kind of all bets are off.
And also like
That's
for
what exactly what it
that was the
feels
first
like.
that was the first kill in the script that I got.
right, yeah.
You know, it was like part of you know, part of doing this, I was like, well, we need to add some naked shower murder up front. Like, what's another friend that they have that we can open the
that
movie
you
with?
did.
Yeah.
I also, but it's also like it opens with like, you know, there is nudity, there's like a violent, like it sets up the, you know, this is what you can expect because then it kind of gets into the more fun territory and until it comes back to Chester's death. So I think that was like a great idea to, you know, like a primer to, you know, don't forget this is what this movie is. Yeah.
I feel like this probably would have been safe to ask in the non-spoiler section, but I also wanted to know about shooting the club sequence too, because you have so many different spaces there and so much happening and so much intercutting between all of the characters. So is that something that's planned to a T when you go into that shoot, or are you kind of free to assemble that in an edit in, you know, a variety of ways?
Well, I mean, I think also, like the house, the script was one version of it. And then once we had the club that we were shooting in, it was, okay, how do we make this work here? And I'm glad that it feels like a lot of different spaces, you know, because we lit them differently and we photographed them differently. But like, you know, it was not as, you know, I'm glad it worked and we fooled you, basically.
It
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, shooting club stuff is really kind of can be awkward and strange because, like, you know, there's no music playing when they're talking. Like, so you've got a dance floor full of people and like dancing to nothing. You know, it's real awkward. Yeah.
Is it really, like, this is such a tiny detail, but like what happens when you have a dance scene, so many people are dancing at once, but nobody's dancing to the same beat?
Yeah.
Like, does that frustrate your eye at all?
I picked one song that we played. And so we would play, a lot of times we would play that song for everyone to dance. And then we would either cut the song and then shoot the scene, you know, without. So we do a lead up of like, okay, here's 30 seconds of music to like, so you can dance. But it's hard to find in the edit to find, you know, music that fits what they're doing. So like, there's a lot of cuts that you can't use because people, I mean, some people are bad dancers and maybe they're missing the beats, but like, you know, I mean, that's definitely a tricky thing.
Is there like one asshole in the batch of extras who just can't dance? I guess that kind of fits a realistic club setting, though. Not everyone can dance all the time.
Yeah, who says everyone has to be a good dancer?
I'm not. Thank you.
Did the, just because it's just so amusing, the go-go dancers also had no music?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Delightful.
As little as anyone else.
I love it.
Yeah.
The go-go dancer.
Colin,
he's amazing.
Yeah,
he
was a good
dancing,
dancer.
Blew everyone away.
That's like another bit that plays so well, and it's so just perfectly timed and well shot too. It's like something like that easily could go south, but every single time you cut back to him, like yes,
go. Hannah's gonna get to kiss him. And we like he was also. I mean, that was funny because, you know, I mean, we know what go-go dancers in a gay bar club like that look like. And, you know, I knew it was New Year's Eve and we wanted them like sparkly and fun. And I kept sending him back to makeup, like, no, more glitter. Like, put the glitter deeper in between his butt. Like, you know, the glitter can't stop at, you know, his bikini line. The glitter goes all the way. And, you know, like 3 times he went back until finally he just, you know, we got all the glitter we needed.
The details.
Yes, it's all the details.
Important.
Exactly.
I feel like we have to wind down. It bothers me that we've already used our 2 like ending questions, but no, I do have another thing because you know, I don't know. This is a very exciting thing and an achievement and something you want to be able to hold on to for the rest of your lives. So, did you take anything from the set that you're going to keep with you?
Did you?
I didn't. I really wanted to like steal one of the leather masks.
That's what I want to. And the Lynette, the costume designer, was there last night. And I was like, "What are the chances of me getting one of those masks?" I mean, she said, "Yeah." But I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
I feel like you should keep his camera or something.
That was actually my camera.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I already have that camera.
So I guess that was your answer to the question.
Yeah.
I just took a lot of food from craft service.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
A lot of food and a lot of
Take
coffee.
a few friendships.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the stuff that really matters.
Exactly.
Guys, congratulations on
you for
the movie.
being
It's so exciting. Into the Dark, Midnight Kiss. Check it out on Hulu on December 27th. And just so people can follow both of you, Erlingur, our audience already knows you, but just in case, where can they find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm on Twitter at LINGUR. And also on Instagram under the same thing. Yeah.
And Carter.
And I'm on Instagram at Carter Bedloe Smith, which is my middle name, BEDLOE.
Cool middle name. Bedloe.
Thanks.
I've never heard that before.
Well, that's why I have to spell it out because no one's ever heard it before.
Sounds very
And nobody can
distinguished,
ever
though.
find it. It's like a family middle name. It's my dad's middle name. Yeah.
That's really nice. I love that. Haleigh, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Haleigh Fouch on Instagram and at Haystack McGroovy on Twitter.
And I'm at P. Nemiroff on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this episode. You have officially survived the witching hour.